Hey everybody, it's Tatiana with Back to Facts. I'm an award-winning journalist, currently in the Washington, D.C. area, and I attended the march today. It is January 6th, 2021. So I wanted to share my thoughts. I already made a video, but I cannot upload it with the slow internet that's here in the motel. So I'm going to make another one. And I just want to say that I went to the march at around 6 a.m. and every single person I saw would look you in the eye and smile. I've been covering the Trump movement ever since Trump won, and the reason I continue to cover it is that I'm still seeing, even to this very moment, the media and basically the establishment elite trying to erase those who are in the Trump movement, trying to erase their legitimate grievances and act like there's nothing that they have to be demanding change about, and like they're idiots and don't know anything, and of course they are overly religious. So that hasn't changed at all. I don't know who it was who stormed the Capitol, but I will tell you my experience. From the minute I got off the plane last night at midnight, there were about 6 or 7 police in not full riot gear, but definitely enhanced riot type of protection. And they were looking at us right when we got off the plane as if we were going to riot. And I didn't even get it. I feel like I'm a bit of a simpleton, I guess, when it comes to these things, but I didn't get that they actually thought the whole plane was practically Trump supporters. I'm a journalist covering it, but that they actually thought that any of those people were going to riot. Second is there was a very strong police presence everywhere on every street. There were barricades, but strangely, no barricades in front of the Capitol building. Now, I don't know why that is. I just know that for, one of the most efficient countries in the world where there's a lot of freedom and a lot of people want to move here, that for us to not have more protection for our Capitol building is baffling to me. That someone could just come in with a baseball bat and break the glass. So I'm sure some of you might be experts on the Capitol Police, but I certainly am not. I certainly know that every courthouse in America has more protection than that. You can't just breach it or come in like that. And so the main event was not even at Capitol Hill. It was at the Ellipse, which is right in front of the White House. And then I was standing on the lawn where the Washington Monument is. And I could barely move for 3 hours, but everybody was in great spirits. They were passing along a giant American flag, and they were just fired up, meeting each other, talking about, the research they've done and, the way of life that they want to preserve here, which is based on the Constitution. So, next, I want to say, the picture that's coming out from the Capitol with like a big Confederate flag. I only saw 2 Confederate flags, and the whole crowd of maybe 1 million people. It was just incredibly big, and the Confederate flag is not a symbol of the Trump movement at all. So I don't know. It just raises a red flag for me that anybody can put on a cap and go cause trouble. I was looking for troublemakers, just around me all day. And when we finally, the main event was like speakers and everything, and then Trump spoke at the end. And he said, we're going to go protest at the Capitol, but everybody was very positive, marching with drums, and, they took the big flag, and I'm sure there were some Trump supporters who may have been caught, who may have entered the Capitol building then at that point. But the people that were the main instigators that we see in the photographs, there's just something really off about them. Also, I saw the Smithsonian Institution is on the right side as you're approaching Capitol Hill, and I wasn't that far away. I was on the other side of the reflecting pool, and I saw like people kind of like dangling from the banister of the stairs at the front. You know, that's where the inaugurations happen. And I thought, well, they all look like they're wearing black clothing, but I wasn't immediately suspicious at all. I mean, I was actually looking forward to just showing, um, seeing how many people came. I know people were looking forward to showing their presence and making their presence heard and expressing their displeasure that no evidence has been shared with investigators um, as far as examining a paper ballot or a machine, with the exception of one county in Michigan. And why, given statistical anomalies, half the country or more than half are very unsatisfied. And yet, does the media not the well, do our leaders give us any relief? Do our leaders express any notion that the statistical anomalies would prompt examination of the evidence? So that is basically the argument of all Trump supporters, and I happen to agree that the election night was an utter joke. Out of 20 bellwether counties, which the guy who wins always wins, Biden won one of those. Trump won all the others. The battleground states, you had identical states next door that had completely different numbers, like to the point where it is statistically impossible. You had more votes than people registered to vote in Pennsylvania. Those things, when we study elections abroad, those are red flags. Okay, and this isn't a partisan issue. There's a guy named Peter Stark at UC Berkeley, and he even wrote an article about Trump. And he said that Georgia's system is a joke. It's notoriously very bad, doesn't have an actual method to have a risk audit. So why is this information being suppressed? That's one thing I don't understand, because that really is a divisive thing. If the media just keeps saying, no evidence with no evidence with no evidence, then, half the country is going to be very unsatisfied. Let me make clear, I'm not condoning what happened at the Capitol in this afternoon. That happened after the main event, by the way. People were walking toward the Capitol. They were maybe leaving. It was extremely windy. The wind chill factor, I'm sure it was, the wind chill factor was probably below zero. And then I saw a smoke bomb go off, and a puff of smoke was red smoke. And I thought, who's doing that? So, it was just all very odd. Very, very odd. And then I just heard that even now, a lot of Trump supporters are staying at hotels inside the city. I'm not. But when they were going outside, I guess some of them were going outside to smoke. The police, they had riot police like standing there acting like they were going to be violent, but they were just standing there smoking. I mean, that's the disconnect between the people I saw during the day and the people I saw in the photos that grabbed the headlines and took all the airtime and the pixels. Was this Confederate flag. And again, I think I said this in the first video, but almost all the Trump supporters on the ground marching are very colorful. They're very cheerful. They're very loving. Yeah, I said they look you in the eye. They have homemade hats, red, white, and blue. I mean, they're draped and decked out. I mean, I was even like, wow, it's like it's like flair, And so these bizarre guys, like the guy with the buffalo horns, who went in and broke into the chamber and, weren't stopped, and then somebody gets shot. I'm telling you right now, there is the temptation when these things happen to, one, act with prejudice, which means, oh, I know it's those violent Trump supporters that we know they're all so violent, which is an absolute lie. And also, see, I know Trump's unstable, so, but that's circular logic. That's actually, circular logic. I'm here to say that my coverage of the Trump movement is not changing at all. And the globalization that occurred before, for the last 15 years before the 2016 election was absolutely devastating to so many communities throughout the United States. And why hasn't that been acknowledged by the establishment, the political establishment? Democrats are supposed to be for the workers. Now you may say, oh, well, robots are going to do the jobs, or those jobs aren't coming back, and Americans are stupid, or Trump supporters are stupid. No, they're actually highly skilled people, often small business owners, who have been fundamentally harmed by policies in Washington and the corruption and the double standard. And they're not going away, and they still are demanding the enforcement of the Constitution, and they're demanding relief. So they didn't go into Capitol Hill. They didn't go into the Senate chambers. Some really strange dude who looked like a fawn centaur with like flesh-colored stocking, bare chest, and buffalo horns went into the Capitol with a giant Confederate flag. So, and then maybe some Trump supporters followed him because I was not standing there. I decided to get the heck out of there. My plan was always to leave around 2 or 3 anyway. We were there since 6. And so those are my thoughts. I know emotions are really running high right now, and everybody thinks like, oh, well, don't mention the fraud because then that'll make people violent. I mean, are we really have we descended to the level now where you don't have to tell someone to be violent and you can still be blamed for their violence? We really need to take stock of ourselves. The information, as I've seen anyway, has been presented in a very dishonest manner. Now, local media is great. There are so many great journalists around the country. I'm talking about the national, Washington and New York media, the media that deal with matters of national importance. And for some reason, they seem to be getting orders from someone else. I don't say that lightly. I've observed, and you can go on my website and see the ethics, the journalism ethics that are quickly shrinking before our very eyes. So until we get information presented honestly, we're always going to be divided, and we're always going to be horrified, and we're always going to think, I can't talk to that person. If you like this movement, just go ahead and defriend me. I keep saying there is something seriously wrong with our information channels and our information systems. And I don't feel like I'm getting through. Maybe I am to some. But I will leave you with just the idea of how much tremendous love for our country and our Constitution, and how much good feeling there really was throughout the whole day. So whoever allowed this to happen, whoever made it happen, those people are the enemy. And we need to show everyone that violence is never the answer. No, it's a violation of somebody's personal sanctity as an individual. And it's never the answer. So thanks for watching. And I've got to go back home tomorrow and, just keep calm, share complete facts, and learn to recognize when you are behaving with prejudice. Thanks, guys.